Hello, everybody. Welcome to Therapy Dog Talk. My name is Sherry. My pups' names are Sunny and Riley. And each week we talk with different therapy dog teams around the world to find out about the impact they're making in their area. If you're just getting started and not sure where to get started, we have a free guide for you that you can find at freeguide.therapydogtalk.com. And we also have a free online community at community.therapydogtalk.com. I'm really excited for you to meet today's guest. You may already have seen them online, but we're talking with Brian and Magnus of Magnus the Therapy Dog today. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited to find out more about your story.
Absolutely.
Well, for those who don't know you, would you like to introduce us to yourself and to your pup?
Sure. So my name is Brian Benson, and I run the account Magnus the Therapy Dog, and I'll show you Magnus right now. My boy is taking a nap.
Aww, Magnus.
There's my buddy with his little squishmallow. This is kind of his nap time right now. So he's relaxing and chilling. So I'll give you our backstory.
Yeah.
So Magnus and I were a pet therapy team. Some people don't realize that he actually is a therapy dog. They just think it's a name. We decided in 2018 to become a pet therapy team. And the way it happened was it was never planned. It was never an intentional thing. So I adopted Magnus. He's now turning 7 in April. And we adopted him when he was a year and a half. The point was really just a family pet. I've had dogs my entire life. I love dogs. I think life is better with a dog. They level everything up. And unfortunately at the time, and she still does, my oldest daughter has very severe arthritis in her entire body. When we adopted him, my daughter at the time was 11. And I used to have to give her daily injections and weekly injections. It was very traumatic, very stressful. She'd cry. It was very, very hard for her. And we had a routine, but still it's a very difficult thing for a kid. And when we adopted him, new dog, new house. There was no initial bond. He wasn't trained. He didn't listen to anything that I said. There was no connection. But even from the first day, I would set my daughter Riley. We'd get our prep ready for the home injections. And she would just be shaking and crying. And just like I said, he just knew how to read people. You could teach a dog a lot of things. It's today, different tricks, all these different acrobatic things. But some things are just hardwired. And he just has this empathy that is just innate with him. So he just understood that there's a person who needs some help of some kind. And he just went over to her. He didn't know who she was. He just knew to comfort her. He lied next to her. She would just start petting him, and you could just see she just naturally start calming down, and her breathing would slow down, and she just was more at ease. That was like kind of the light bulb went off. I was thinking it'd be selfish to just keep him as a pet for the family. Like he's really just meant to do so much more. So I did research. We're affiliated with the Good Dog Foundation, which I'm in New York, so they're local to my area, the tri-state area. And a few months later, I started the process to get us basically certified as a pet therapy team. And it's been amazing. He was born for this job. He really was. It's incredible.
I love that. So you found that his reactions to your daughter made you want to research basically how to share him with other people. That's how you found out about therapy dog?
Yeah, and he even did the same thing. I used to work in the city. I work in TV and film. That's my traditional job. Visual effects learns to TV and film. And sometimes it gets very stressful, very high pressure, deliveries, and everything's just high intensity and high energy. And there were times I would bring him to work with me. I worked at different companies because I freelance. Yeah. And he would sit under my desk, and clients wouldn't even know he was there until he'd pick up his head and hear the chains jiggle. And there would be times a client could be in the back of the room and just get a phone call with their boss, for example. And they would just start venting to me about the struggles and stresses of their days. You could tell they just all said about things in life and work, whatever. And Magnus, without being told, would just get up, walk to the back of the room, sit right next to them. And as they're just venting, they would start petting, not even really realizing he's there. And you could just, again, see them just start calming down. And they would just look and say, Magnus, thank you. That was great. He didn't really do anything, but for him, that's what he does. He just knows how to just relax it. So it just seemed like a perfect set. It really did.
Oh, such a good boy.
He's the best. He's lucky dad.
I love that. What types of places do you two volunteer together?
So we've gone to a lot of different places. We focus mainly on hospitals. And in the hospitals, we did mostly children and adults who are terminally and critically ill. That's where we do the most of our work. And then we also visit patients in trauma ICU. And then, of course, the grieving families and friends who are there. And then we mix around with the hospital staff, the nurse stations, the doctors. And that's where we do the majority of our work. We've also gone to schools for children with emotional issues and learning disabilities. We've gone to nursing homes. We've done community crisis centers where there are children who are in foster care and they've been, unfortunately, physically, sexually abused, emotionally abused, and they just need that comfort, something different than maybe, the traditional avenues. Because even when we go to hospitals, it's interesting because they are just so happy the patients see anybody but a doctor. Like the nurses and the doctors come in and they're fantastic. Medical community is amazing. They're like the heroes. But when you're a patient, and I even know it's now because I was just in the hospital, sometimes you don't want to talk to a doctor anymore. You don't want to talk about what your condition is or how are you feeling or what hurts and what aches. Sometimes you just want to talk to a person, be treated like a human being, and the way they just open up and they light up. I have a million stories. Just people, they just open up to him in a totally different way. And it makes me want to cry. It's beautiful to see what he does and how he makes everyone smile. It really does.
Yeah. Is there one of those stories that really stands out to you as an example of why you enjoy this work?
Yeah, this is actually even the first visit we went on. We went to the hospital. I didn't know what section of the hospital they were sending us, to be honest. I didn't know if we were just visiting people who just broke an arm or had a cold. I had no clue. And when you go to the hospital has to get waivers from each patient. It can't just roam free. You go to a certain section that they tell you to go to, and it's all planned in advance. You can't just wander into a patient's room and maybe they're allergic or afraid of dogs. I got there and they didn't have the paperwork signed out yet. So there was an elderly woman, maybe in her 80s, and she was signing the waiver for her sister. And as we're walking to the room, she said, my sister, she has stage 4 cancer. They told her she has 4 days to live, and she hasn't smiled in my life. So this is what I'm being briefed on as I'm walking to the room. I had no concept or preconceived anything of what it was. I walk in, stay with them for as long as we can. And then as we're leaving, the sister walked us out and she said, I just want to let you know, I haven't seen my sister smile in, like I said, weeks. She said, thank you so much. And it's heartbreaking because that may be like the last time this woman smiles because she was told she basically has days to live. So it's moments like that I realize this is why we do what we do, because this is volunteer work. This is not a paid gig. Just do it as a way to give back, pay it forward, and just to brighten people's day, because people need it. So many people now are struggling. Mental health is huge. Physical health is huge. And it's not really spoken about enough. Now it's being spoken about more, but it just gives them something to be happy about, even for a brief moment or just a distraction, whatever's going on at that moment or that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And during COVID, you actually took your daytime skills of visual effects and started combining them with therapy dog work to really bring Magnus's reach online. How did you come up with that idea and how have you really seen it help people?
It really happened by accident. So before COVID, we were doing in-person visits. And of course, like everything else in the world, my job as a visual effects artist was shut down. In-person visits were shut down. So like everyone else, I was just home. I had a wife and 2 daughters. And we just almost as a goof said, let's just start an Instagram account. Back then, no one was really doing videos so much. You don't know real. Started posting some pictures, and we did post one video of Magnus and I working out that just blew up. It was on like ESPN, Good Morning America. I had friends in Europe who said, I think I saw you and your dog on TV. And I was thinking, like, what? And it just kind of took off on its own. It was never planned. And then got 2 teenage daughters and said, Dad, you have to go with TikTok. I said, I'm not going with TikTok. I don't dance. Not my jam. It's not. And they convinced me slowly. And now we're on like TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, but like on 6 different channels. During COVID, it was what we kind of considered virtual. We couldn't do the in-person. So this was a way of still giving back and paying it forward. And we would get DMs, and we still do, from people all over the world saying maybe they're depressed, or unfortunately someone's sick or ill, or they lost a job, or they're just having a bad day. When they say they look forward to our account, what we do is our content is all just lighthearted, funny, just to make you smile and laugh. Nothing serious, nothing's political. It's really just meant to make you smile. And these people from all over the world say that it does exactly that, just giving the break, and they look forward to whatever we post every day. So now that COVID's over, we still want to continue because now I get to reach so many people. It's great. I still do the in-person because now we're back doing in-person visits, which is amazing. So we're still continuing that, but now we can do both virtually and in person. So it's the perfect combination. Yes.
I love that. There's a few requests to see Magnus again. I don't know if he's hanging out with you. I know you wanted to get the view set up so that we could see him the whole time, but unfortunately,
I know.
Instagram has rules.
I was trying to figure out how to do that. And if it wasn't the fact that Instagram made us use iPhone or iPad, if I could do my desktop, I've done that with other interviews where I set them up on the couch, but it's a little hard to phone.
Yeah, I totally understand.
He is an excellent napper. Really
I can see that.
I get the best rest with him. Like you feel your blood pressure just drop.
It probably really does.
No, it does. And he's so cuddly and he really is the coziest guy. And in our house, he will find the coziest, softest spot in any room. It doesn't matter where he is.
So if the spot is Magnus approved, it's a good spot to hang out. I love that. Brian, lately Magnus has been helping you as a service animal. How has that transition been for the two of you?
Yeah, so now he has 2 jobs. Well, 3. So he's pet, he's therapy dog, and he's also now my service dog. I have a seizure disorder. So during COVID, we helped both the Department of Disability and my treating specialist. He also became my service dog. There's a bunch of different things he does to help facilitate me that medication didn't or couldn't perform properly to help with my condition. Unfortunately, recently I was in the hospital. Apparently now I have some heart condition that I wasn't aware of before. Predisposed, I guess. A lot of people in my family have heart attacks and heart disease. So I was in the hospital for 3 days, and because he's a service dog, he was allowed to stay with me. And again, it's like he just goes into this mode where he made a horrible situation better and like way more tolerable. Because my daughter stayed with me during the visitation hours, but even though I forget, 9 to 9, they would do all the walks and stuff for me because I wasn't allowed to leave. And the hospital even let them come before and after visitation hours to make sure he got any extra walks, required. But when they leave, it's very cold. Temperature-wise, it's very it's sterile. You're in a hospital room by yourself. And to have him there with me was just, a blessing. Doesn't even properly describe how grateful I am and how appreciative I am that he was there. Because otherwise, you're just there by yourself. And being in the hospital reminded me why it's so important to go on the visits. Because now I was back on the other side. As a kid, I was in the hospital a lot, which was always my motivation to visiting hospitals and particularly kids, because I remember how I hated it. Even now, I go into the hospital and, certain songs remind you of a certain time in your life. Mm-hmm. From being in a hospital as a kid, I walk into a hospital and just the smell of a hospital reminds me of that time in my life that wasn't a good time. Yeah. So he just makes it better. He really does. And I'm forever grateful for this guy. I really.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that he was able to be there for you. I can definitely relate to associating the hospital with memories that are not great.
And he even actually helped the staff because the nurses, they would say, I pet him, can we say hi to the dog? And I say, of course. They're working like these late hours and long shifts and they're tired. And then it just even puts a smile on their face. Yeah. Which is great to see.
It's really great. Yeah. Is it easy for him to switch back and forth between service dog and therapy dog, or how does he know who he needs to focus on when?
It's amazing that he learned really quickly when he has to wear what hat. So he knows when he's in therapy dog mode, he's like the mayor. He greets everybody, says hi to everybody. He knows he can just kind of, bounce around. And when he's at home, if someone comes in, he shows him a toy. He gets a toy and shows them. So when he's on a therapy visit, he'll grab his leash. I'm still holding one end, but he grabs the leash to show them something. It's almost like he wants to show you a gift of some kind. But he very quickly knows when we're in service dog mode, he knows just to lock on me. I've had videos where I've traveled and we could be at John F. Kennedy Airport. If you don't know, it's a huge international airport in New York City, monster airport. We've traveled during some of the busiest times of the year, like holiday time, where it's a zoo. It's just a sea of people. And he will just stand right by my side, looking right up at me, like he's at the ground, just looking right up at me. We've gone through security checkpoint, and because of the metal, they make me take off his collar and his leash. I have to walk through first, and he sits there alone. And he just blocks out everything. He just seems to know when to do what. Of course, I'm driving the bus and telling him, look at me and focus on me, or go say hi to that person. It's okay. But he reads the body language also, which is amazing. He's smart on like a whole nother level. He really is.
Yeah. I love that. He was career changed, correct? When you first got him?
Yeah.
Was he pretty much already trained when he came to you, or what was your training process like?
Well, it's interesting. So he was a release dog. He was supposed to be a guide dog. Didn't work out. He's my second dog from that program, and my cousin had one from the same program. My neighbor does, and the reason I say that is amazing program, incredible program. But they give you a sheet of what the dog basically meant. Sit, stay down, come, heel.
Okay.
And extremely socialized. When I got him, he might as well have been an 8-week-old puppy. I'm sure he listened to the people who, did the initial work, but he's supposedly housebroken, but he peed in my house twice. I would say sit, he'd walk away. I would say stay, just testing out the commands. He's supposed if he had a middle finger, he might have given it to me. We would go for a walk. It wasn't, at least for me, leash training, is he would either do one of two things. Either silent protest, spoil out and just say, I'm not moving. He's 80 pounds of muscle. If he doesn't want to move, he's not going anywhere. Or he would pull you to every blade of grass or light post or what have you. So I actually, when I adopted, planned ahead for this, I took 3 months of work just to start with back to the basics again. As if he was a puppy, start with the foundation, start with that bond, that connection, redo all the basic commands. And now I work with a whole bunch of tricks. Now we know 40 something commands. And so, it's a lot of work and it's a labor of love, but you get out of what you put into it. And he's amazing.
So do those cues, those tricks that he knows, do they inspire your videos, or do you teach him things when you get an idea for a video? Which way does it go?
The tricks always have come first, and nothing I've taught him has been, I should teach you this for.
Okay.
Either the things I've taught him are for practicality, or just, he's so smart, and it's important for me not only just physically stimulate him with long walks and zoomies and playtime, but also mentally. To make sure that he doesn't get bored. We also do nose work, which is another way just to kind of keep him excited about learning. He just loves to learn. So I'm always thinking, what could I teach him that's fun that he wants to do? We make our training session like play sessions. Mm-hmm. So I'm having fun, he's having fun. So no one gets bored. And then if something's oh, wow, that would actually be really fun to use in video, then it could always comes after.
Yeah. What do you think his favorite trick is?
I don't know. I think it depends on where we are and what we're doing. There's so many. I like kiss. Hugs another one. But he kisses like goose. You see your face. He's always cute because he's a dog and you usually see dogs like this.
Yeah. Does he have any that are particularly useful when you go on therapy visits?
As far as usefulness, touch is one, because a lot of times, especially in the hospital, people are attached to, machines and wires and connected to things. So they usually can't get out of them. Yeah. Sometimes the most they could do is if they're they can just slide a little bit. I have a touch command that basically wherever I hold my hand, this dog will touch me. So I can get him super close to where they are. And he's very good at me pointing to where I want him to go in a very tight radius. I can point where I want him. I also something called face, where he lays his face on whatever I point to. So he can lay his face right on the edge of the bed so people can pat his head and clear his ears. So that's actually very practical for the visits. Also, one thing he knows is close, which is when I'm standing, he'll actually sit between my legs, which is good for being on the elevator. So he takes up a very small footprints, things like that I did on visits also. That's
great. Does he wear a specific bandana or vest or anything like that for either therapy work or service dog work?
For therapy work, so the organization I use the bandana. I think the man was a vest. I forget. I chose the bandana because that's what he preferred. And we both have ID tags and badges and stuff that we have to wear. Yeah. For the service work, I have a vest, but he doesn't love the vest, and legally service dogs don't have to wear the vest. Right. I used to wear it whenever we were in a place where he's doing service work. But then I noticed people just ignore it. I could be sitting there and it says big bold letters, service dog. People are still looking at it and go, come here, buddy. It's clearly working, and just people ignore it. So that's why I don't even really bother with the vest anymore,
Do you get recognized a lot walking around with him?
It's funny. We have, and it's always, what's the right way to say it? It's extremely humbling, and it shocks me every time. I think last summer, summer before last, we did a 5-week cross-country road trip with my whole family. We went to 20-something states. We drove in about 8 states, we got randomly recognized. We were in Texas, and this older woman comes up to my young store and says, "Excuse me, are you on YouTube? I think I see you on YouTube."
Aww.
And in Chicago, woman like walking by us, "Excuse me," she's like, "Is that Magnus?" And then her and a dog playing. Someone just recognized me recently in my doctor's office. I was online to get blood for my newest heart situation, and a woman in the lab said, "Excuse me, is that Magnus?" It's always great. We love it. And we always encourage people to recognize us. Please come over and say hi. Come and meet Magnus. You love to chat with them. That's why we do this, to meet people and just make them smile. So whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely a testament to how many lives you're touching. Just the fact that you're recognized in those places when you travel and whatnot. That's great.
Yeah, in a very humbling. Really is.
Yeah. What do you think Magnus's favorite part of volunteering is?
I think he likes being around people. Like, that's always what he enjoys most. He really likes meeting people, and you can see, and he feeds off of the people. You know how dogs in general, they can tell who's a dog person. Magnus is no exception. So the more excited they ever see him, he'll match that energy. He'll just get, his butt shaking, his tail's wiggling, the whole deal. So he loves being around people, loves meeting kids, grown-ups, whatever. He doesn't discriminate. He just loves meeting people. Like, even walking down the hallway of the hospital, people say, "Hey, pet your dog," and he gets all excited, gets ears, pin bags, wagging his tail.
Yeah.
He just likes to socialize. He's definitely a social butterfly.
I love that. Well, it sounds like he found the perfect home for himself then.
I really.
There's a couple of questions here. Jared wanted to know how you get Magnus to lie on his back for some of the videos. Is that something that he just does?
You mean when his mouth is open and he's picking us out?
I'm not sure if he's talking about that or just, I know you have so many videos where he just acts like a person.
He's incredibly accommodating.
Okay.
We have this strong level of trust. He knows whatever I do with him, for him, to him, I always have best intentions in mind. I will never hurt him. There are videos of this, where he's passed out and his mouth is wide open. You see like all the teeth and his eyes are closed and he's actually snoring. I could rub him to sleep in any position. I could lay him on his back like a baby. And babies kind of rub their eyes and he will just start snoring full in sleep. He really will. Like, some of these videos, some people say, "Oh, it's fake." He didn't just find him like that. I could run to sleep and leave the room and come back and hurt him later, and he will still be sound asleep snoring with his mouth wide open.
He knows he's safe.
Yeah, he gets so comfortable and he's like, "All right, I'll take a nap right here. This is fine." Here comes
King of naps.
He really is. Special napper.
That's great. Someone else asked how old he is, but I believe you said he's 7, correct?
He's 27.
Okay. Very cool.
Is it a golden birthday? Is it on the 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
golden birthday coming up.
Golden birthday.
Yep, it's a big one.
That's awesome. I hope you find something really creative to celebrate.
I know. Shout out. Last year we did something huge, so I've got to top that one now.
That's the problem with doing something huge, is you always feel like you have to top it.
You have to every time you have to one up it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the challenge.
Brian, do you have any advice for someone who's interested in getting started as a therapy dog team?
Yeah, I do actually. So I could tell you the way our program works. I'm assuming a lot of them are pretty similar. Before you even get into the area where you want to actually go to a therapy dog organization, trying to get certified and in their course enrollment, at least with us, Magnus already had to have been perfectly well trained, like socialized, obedience trained. He wasn't allowed to jump up on people, bark unless there's a reason, like maybe command or to alert you of something. Has to walk nicely on his leash. Because when we decided to do this, the way they evaluated us was they had the master trainer. We had to meet her in a pet store. And when they first told me this, I'm thinking that's extremely random. Okay. If anyone has a dog, we realize that is distraction overload. It's super hard to have your dog listen in a pet store where there's, open treats and chew sticks and tennis balls and probably other dogs. And depending on the pet store, maybe cats and rabbits and birds and people and, dogs getting a bath and what have you. So in that environment, he had to do sit straight down, walk on leash. They would throw treats on the floor. He'd have to walk past it because leash is another huge one that you have to teach your dog. Totally separate from soccer work. That was probably the first leash teach dog just for safety reasons. But then they kind of manhandle him, touch him all over, make sure he's comfortable with strangers touching him. And then they also took out a walker and a cane and things that you'll find in maybe a nursing home or, hospital setting because some dogs get freaked out very easily. So that's just to get, in my case, just to get into the program. And then it was a 6-week program. It's not an obedience class. I'm not teaching you commands of any kind. I'm teaching you how to interact and how to behave on a visit, what's expected of you, what's expected of your dog. So for example, whenever you meet someone in, let's call it traditional life, you say, "Hi, how are you?" If I know walking into a room and someone has stage 4 cancer, and like the first example I gave you, and they said she has 4 days lived, I'm probably not going to say, "How are you?" It's not really appropriate. Or if I know people I'm visiting are terminal, when I leave, I don't say, "I'll see you next week," because it's very sad to say they may not be around next week. So you have to really overthink, depending on, where you're doing your visits, what you can and can't say, because you don't want to trigger anybody. You don't want to upset anybody. So it's a lot of that and teaching, proper etiquette in an elevator. So if you want to do this, definitely start with the basics. Make sure, like I said, your obedience is tight. Leash walking is great. They don't jump up on people. They don't bark unnecessarily. So those are things, leave it. Those are things that are really important. People don't realize this. Any dog breed, any size, any age. You could be, a rescue, you could be a Kirby, you could be the tiniest dog, the biggest dog. It doesn't matter for therapy work. It really doesn't.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many people in the comments that said, "You sound so much better. You look so much better." And they're so glad that Magnus helped you through that experience.
Yeah, and I'm still not out of the woods, but we're hopefully moving in a more positive direction.
Awesome.
No more tests, but I'll keep everyone posted.
Yeah. There's also a request from another 7-year-old pup asking if Magnus wants to be her girlfriend or boyfriend, rather. I don't know if he's in the market, but just so you know, there's some offers up there.
That's funny. He actually does have a girlfriend.
Oh.
She's been a bunch of her, Stevie, the Yellow Lab lives around the corner, and she's a year older, so I guess he likes the older ladies. They are so cute. We've watched her, and she's had overnight visits, like sleepovers, and they're just 2 peas in a pod. They're so in sync. They just have a perfect balance of wearing each other out and then just relaxing, taking a nap together in bed. It's so cute. Really too cute.
Well, sorry, Bubbles. It sounds like Magnus is off the market.
But he's not married, so you never know.
You never know. Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to share while you're here?
I would just say, it's so rewarding in terms of therapy work specifically. If you can do it, if you think your dog is capable of doing it, if you have the time, because also you don't have to have, with most organizations, a set schedule. Since it is volunteer work, I work full time. I work 7 days a week. Actually, I fit it in with my schedule. So don't think that, if you can't commit to every Friday, you can't do therapy work. It's very flexible and it's so rewarding. Just again, what you're giving back to these people, it's really, you can't measure it. So if you have the time and the ability, I would think you can do it.
Awesome. Thank you. And if people want to continue to follow you, they can find you at Magnus the Therapy Dog. And also you have a website, correct?
MagnusTherapyDog.com. Very easy.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. People may revolt if you don't end with showing us Magnus again. Just
absolutely.
A lot of requests still in the comments. He switched sides there.
Yeah, oops.
Aw, good boy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you, Magnus, and thank you for all the work you two are doing together.
Of course. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.